Support WrestleTalk!
Tell a friend.
Well, that was a super ShowDown show. John Cena's hair is really weird, isn't it? And it's overshadowed pretty much anything else that was going on at this particular event. However, I have found some other highlights from the show. So I'm El Fakador Laurie Blake, and these are my WWE Super ShowDown highlights. Did you know the show's in Australia? Renee Young banged on about flat whites, which confused Corey Graves and Michael Cole immensely, even though they have them in Starbucks, which is I'm pretty sure is available in America. Michael Cole, who also didn't know that you don't swim with great whales, you would swim with great whites. Buddy Murphy. Michael Cole, expert on local research. There was Vegemite, that was mentioned, that was fun. They talked about the taps working the other way because Cesaro's big swing might work in that was quite a good little reference, I thought.
Simpsons joke I appreciated.
The pies! what even was the pie thing about? That advert was... That's so dumb. Yeah, Naomi comes to a hotel room looking for Jimmy Uso, finds a trail of rose petals leading to the bed, an open bottle of champagne with 2 glasses poured, petals in a heart shape on the bed, and then she finds Jimmy inexplicably in a bath eating a pie, and he just says, "Oh hey babe, I didn't hear you come in." Has he been banging the pie?
He wasn't even apologetic.
Yeah, it was non-apologetic. Basically, he's done an American Pie, and he has got balls of steel because he does not care, does he? But I think my favourite bit about the Super Showdown Aussie pandering was the long shot of Melbourne skyline with Michael Cole describing the benefits of the city, which I can understand when they did the same thing in Jeddah, which I'm guessing many people don't really know about and have a very kind of stereotyped view of what a Saudi Arabian city might be like.
It's so progressive!
It's the future! But basically, he was describing Melbourne by saying, it's hip, it's urban, it's clean, it's hip. All right, Grandad. Number 9, Daniel Bryan gets a title shot, which is kind of a double-edged sword, really, because how good is it that Daniel Bryan is going to take on AJ Styles in the beautiful city of Riott, which is hip and clean and all of the Michael Cole buzzwords? And it is good, because obviously these two are fantastic performers, and I really can't wait to see them both in the ring and what they're going to do before the obvious Ms. DQ comes in. But my God, did this news fall flat on this show. The two clearly got absolutely shafted by the runtime of every other match on the show, which, save for the New Day versus The Bar, which was fantastic and just basically all of the hits. And also, not on the pre-show brilliantly, but as close to the pre-show as you could possibly be by being the very first thing that happened. So the New Day haven't quite escaped the curse. And Cedric and Buddy Murphy, which was another just smasher of just hits back to back to back to back. Every other match on the show had about 5 minutes of sag in the middle, and then for Daniel Bryan and The Miz lasted about 5 minutes. The Undertaker's entrance was longer than Daniel Bryan versus The Miz. It kind of fell flat with the roll-up finish here. Everyone sort of missed what had happened, and they were probably tired from the Dogs of War versus The Shield and knowing that they had to sit through what was inevitably going to be a massive slugfest between Triple H and The Undertaker, who I've forgotten their names of because I've watched a lot of wrestling today.
They're not well known.
They're not well known. No, they're quite niche indie guys, really. And also, a small package finish at a massive pay-per-view like this. It's just, you know, as Daniel Bryan himself said, he is Mr. Small Package, and Mr. Small Package strikes again. Becky Lynch still getting cheered. She's the heel, you guys. You gotta stop cheering her. It's not the story we are trying to tell. So yeah, Charlotte comes out and gets a big old pop in this match, and then Becky comes out to just her own music with no crowd sound whatsoever, because you've got to assume that people were cheering, and that is not the story they're trying to tell. And throughout the match, you could tell that people were cheering for Becky, even if she did start doing a few more dastardly heel sort of things, and even retained her title, just barely scraping a DQ. Which really feels to me, sadly, like Charlotte is going to be the one picking up the belt come Evolution, because her surname is Flair. Number 7, the Riott Squad versus Ronda Rousey and 2 of her mates. This was actually a pretty good match, considering that there were 2 people called Bella in it. I've actually started to really like the Riott Squad. I think they gel really well in the ring, and there were some good little moments here, just from sort of behind the scenes storytelling coming back in the ring. There was a brilliant moment when Brie Bella's down, Liv Morgan gets tagged in, she wipes her feet on the ring apron, steps into the ring, and kicks Brie in the head. Brilliant. And then Brie, who still hasn't learned any wrestling moves, grabs her by the tongue. She wouldn't do a suicide. She wouldn't do a suicide dive because, it's dangerous, so she balks at it. But she will grab a tongue. Do you know how much bacteria there is on a tongue? It's way more dangerous to touch somebody else's tongue than it is to jump out of the ring. And then we get a brilliant hot tag to Ronda Rousey, who comes in and starts judo tossing everyone out of the ring. And an amazing moment where Liv posts Brie and then jumps into the ring to save Sarah Logan from the armbar, only for Ronda to fire up holding both of their arms, judo toss to both of them, and then win the match with a double armbar, tapping everybody out. She's the baddest woman on the planet, except for the fact that she cries on her entrance quite often. So AJ and Joe tear it up again. I've loved this feud from the moment it started. I think the two have incredible in-ring chemistry, obviously because they've spent years working together, and they've somehow still managed to do entirely new stuff every time they go into the ring. And here was an absolute slobber knocker of a match. It was the kind of culmination of weeks and weeks of torment that Joe has imparted onto AJ and his family, and this was AJ.
Ooh, Wendy.
You should have done that through the letterbox. Ooh, Wendy. Not illegal though. You should have. They didn't fire him, did they? He's a criminal now, so he can do what he wants. That's how crime works. An amazing outside brawl that then led into the ring with Joe firing up as AJ hit him with loads of kicks and then knocking him down with a massive chop. By this point, Joe had gone the colour of a boil. He became a human source of deep heat. The man basically was really in need of a rest hold by about 2 minutes into the match. And then AJ starts targeting Joe's knee after he pops it on the table, which is just wicked. He hits a 450 slingshot splash onto it, which is just awesome, and then moves the referee out of the way at one point to carry on targeting the limb. It's just a brilliant end. Well, unfortunately, it feels like the end to the feud. However, it is a brilliant end to the feud. Number 5, the little Ambrose heel turn tease. The match between the Shield and the Dogs of War was basically a really boring hot tag-a-mania for most of it. And it wasn't even like just one hot tag, because we had a really long beatdown of Seth Rollins, and then we had hot tag Dean Ambrose in, which quickly just turned back into yet another beatdown because no, that is not the real hot tag, is it? We're waiting for the big dog. There's a couple of weird bits in this match as well. The Shield came out from all different directions in the arena, which took flipping ages to get to the ring. They were also all wearing ill-fitting little masks. It was like they muzzled the big dog. Ambrose's specifically was really bad. His little nose was poking out like he was some sort of Bane. I mean, no wonder he was really miffed later in the match.
Oh, you think darkness is your ally? You merely adopted the dark.
It's really hard to look tough in ill-fitting mask, and also when you've got 2 security dudes following you through the crowd to make sure you don't fall down the steps. And then the match was basically a really long, lengthy beatdown with Seth Rollins that only ended after Braun Strowman botched a dive from the top rope that he didn't need to do. But the saving grace of this match was the little tease of the Ambrose heel turn. So there's a moment where a miscue leads to Roman Reigns Superman punching Ambrose off of the apron, and then later in the match, as Ambrose climbs back into it, it's also the time that the Dogs of War have surrounded the ring in a kind of classic Shield fashion, and Ambrose finds himself there at the same time, teasing that he might turn on his Shield brothers. He doesn't, but it was just a really nice moment. But then it was kind of all undone because Roman saves him from a Braun Strowman charge by spearing Strowman through the barricade. Seth also saves him from a Claymore with a super kick, kind of undoing all of that work that sort of teased at the heel turn. So, number 4. 1, 2, 3. IIconics! Number 3, the Undertaker angle. I mean, I called it. I said Shawn Michaels would cost Taker the match. That'll lead to the setup for their tag match at Crown Jewel. So, you know, obvious predictions are obvious, but I am essentially a god. Considering there was a moment where I wasn't even sure Undertaker was going to make it to the ring before he died of old age, this was actually a really good throwback WWE match with tons of hardcore spots, and that kind of like, it captured that sort of magic of the Attitude Era where almost every single big match just devolved into a brawl around the ring, brawling in the crowd and then just hitting each other as hard as you can with various objects to see what makes the biggest dent. Specifically bad in this was the combination of Aussie sunburn and chair shots. Somebody, please, for the love of God, get the game some aloe vera. Those white shirts are going to be sticking to Paul's back. so badly for the next few weeks. I'd love to see Triple H just working at a desk, just tapping away on the computer merrily, stapling some stuff.
Like Mr. Incredible,
Yeah,
getting angry with everyday life.
Yeah, go into the photocopier. Go on! There's no coffee again!
Getting deliveries.
Signing for his packages. But after throwing everything at each other for like over half an hour, maybe even closer to 40 minutes, Triple H walks out with a win after Michaels sweet chins Taker, and then it leads to a pedigree for the finish. Then we got the lovely moment where the four hug it out and they all show mutual respect while watching fireworks awkwardly, and Taker trying to very, very brazenly suck in as much air as possible because he is so tight. He's just taken 10 years off his life by doing this one match. And that's before Taker then decides to tombstone Triple H, and as a bit of active retribution, put Michaels through a table. Basically, this was exactly what you want from a returning stars match. It's much better than those kind of unbelievable Hall of Famer squash matches where they come out, play the hits, and win the match. This was two guys who are about the same stage in their career, who complement each other really well, seeming like they're putting every single thing on the line to win this match. Number 2. John Cena's locks! John Cena's locks! I mean, it was a really weird match watching a floating hairpiece for the whole thing. Because you can't see John Cena, but you can see wherever he's bought that hair from. This is such a case of like one tiny thing has managed to overshadow anything else that happened on the show, in this match specifically. Like, what was he thinking? He's basically morphed into JBL at this point. He wasn't really the focus of the match or in the match for very much time. However, somehow he was the only thing I was looking at. I don't really know what happened in the Lashley beatdown. I know that Lashley put some effort in because he was very sweaty by the end of it. But John Cena just stood on the apron with his new hairdo that he's got for his first day at the Staple Factory. I want him and Lashley to remain a tag team, and then Lashley could also get a little a wig too, and then the two of them could start performing Toupee Suicidas. Dad jokes. Also a point in the match where they flashed up a little thing on the screen that said trending now, John Cena. There's nothing trendy about that. Nothing was trendy about John Cena. Realistically, the match was actually absolute bobbins. It was a kind of really boring beatdown of Lashley, and then John Cena gets a hot tag and performs the full 6 moves of Doom, including the final move, the 6th move of Doom, a punch? Which is also the 4th move of Doom, the 5-knuckle shuffle. That's also a punch. How is another punch the 6th move of Doom? John Cena sucks! Then John Cena gets on the mic at the end of the match after winning with a punch, and his brilliant toupee overshadows him here as he says, I know my life has moved on, I wasn't really expecting it, but this is always my home and always will be. So thank you very much for letting me come here and perform, saying nothing about the other 3 people who were in the match and actually performed the match. Number 1, Buddy Murphy.
Woo! Yeah.
Well done. This was brilliant both in terms of the quality of the match that these two put on and just in terms of the moment for the show itself. The age of Alexander is over. Now comes the month of Murphy?
You'd hope it goes on longer.
Yeah. 12 months of Murphy.
The millennium of Murphy.
Ah, that's much, but that's too long. That's
Murphy millennium.
Buddy time. The Buddy Zone. I guess if you're going to do shows like this that are sort of part wrestling show, part tourist board advertisement, part greatest hits tour, then things like this moment, kind of make it all worthwhile. Seeing somebody who very much deserves it win in front of a partisan crowd. This is kind of like, this moment, probably not in terms of the meaning at the time, but in terms of scale and what it must feel like for Buddy Murphy, must be very similar to British Bulldog winning the Intercontinental title at SummerSlam 92, in terms of the response. And rightfully so, because Buddy Murphy has had basically the most insane year since joining 205. He's had some of the best matches I've seen in WWE recently, and he's clearly worked incredibly hard to get where he is. I thought Blake and Murphy in NXT were a solid heel tag team, but the management, quite rightly, locked in on Alexa Bliss as the thing to sort of take from that and take somewhere else. So then Murphy worked his arse off, and his abs all of the way out, and just became this amazing electric performer. This match essentially put the vast majority of the others on the show to shame. I would say that nothing else except maybe the New Day versus The Bar had this level of flow and the crazy moves, and nothing else but sort of AJ and Joe really matched this in terms of overall quality. And unlike the vast majority of matches I've said before, this one didn't even sag in the middle. Me and Ollie popped incredibly hard for the win. So hard that people were looking through the windows of our new offices, because the windows go all the way down through about 6 people's offices, and you could just see little heads pop up being like, what are they doing? We're watching a big ginger man whose face is now the same colour as his hair. Basically, the match was so good that I don't really have any jokes for it. My only gripe is that Buddy Murphy was so orange that his skin was the same colour as his hair. What an incredible moment. And the celebration, the moment afterwards where the crowd erupted and Murphy stood there holding the title aloft, visibly shaking, is probably some of the best WWE television I have seen in a very long time. So those were my highlights for Super Showdown, but that's just the main roster. Boring. If you want to find out what's happening on the really good show, NXT, why don't you watch mine and Luke's review in the Ramble format by clicking the video on screen now, and give us a subscribe to stay up to date on all of the latest wrestling news. I've been El Fakador, and that was Lucha.